Welcome to the Academy for Modern Stoic channel. In today's video, we will explore the life and philosophy of one of the greatest leaders of the 20th century, Martin Luther King Jr., known worldwide for his tireless fight for civil rights and racial equality in the United States. King stood out not only for his eloquence and courage, but also for his profound philosophy of nonviolence and civil disobedience. Martin Luther King Jr. was a Baptist pastor who became the face and voice of the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 1960s. His leadership and vision inspired millions of people to unite against racial segregation and social injustice. But what many may not know is that his actions and ideas were deeply influenced by two philosophical pillars: his Christian values and Stoic philosophy. King believed in the inherent dignity and worth of every human being, principles he found in both his Christian faith and Stoic teachings. Stoic philosophy, with its emphasis on reason, virtue, and justice, offered King a solid ethical foundation for his struggle. He adopted the practice of nonviolence not just as a tactical strategy, but as a profound expression of his moral principles. Inspired by the teachings of figures such as Gandhi and Stoic texts, King promoted peaceful civil disobedience as a means of challenging unjust laws and promoting social change. Martin Luther King Jr. found in Stoic teachings a rich and profound source of wisdom that guided not only his philosophy of life, but also his concrete actions in the fight for social justice. Stoic philosophy, with its emphases on reason, virtue, and acceptance of fate, offered King a robust moral and ethical framework for confronting the complex and challenging issues of his time. Let's explore some of these foundational Stoic influences on King's path, revealing how these ancient principles intertwined with his beliefs and shaped his lasting impact on society. For King, the Stoics provided a basis for understanding and confronting injustice ethically and rationally. He not only studied Stoic texts, but also incorporated them into his own worldview and practical approach to activism. The pursuit of justice, the emphasis on personal virtue, the importance of reason, and the resilient acceptance of adversity became central pillars of his philosophy of life and his fight for civil rights. Now, let's delve into four main areas where Stoic influences manifested themselves clearly in King's life: the importance of reason and virtue, the concept of dikaiosine, justice, admiration for Seneca, and the philosophy of amor fati, love of fate. Each of these areas reveals how King applied Stoic principles to meet the challenges of his day and bring about lasting social change. For the Stoics, reason and virtue are essential elements to achieve a full and meaningful life. These principles became fundamental in the life of Martin Luther King Jr. and his tireless fight for social justice. King believed that true change could only be achieved through moral integrity and rational action, not through uncontrolled emotions or impulses. King maintained that the pursuit of justice must be rooted in a deep commitment to truth and ethics. This commitment was a cornerstone in his fight against racial and social injustices. Inspired by Stoic philosophy, he argued that virtue, the moral quality of being good, just, and upright, was essential for any meaningful transformation. Rationality, in turn, provided the clarity necessary to understand society's complex problems and find solutions that respected the dignity of all individuals. In practice, King applied this philosophy remarkably. In a context of racial segregation, violence, and hatred, he maintained a posture of serenity and moral firmness. He recognized that acting with virtue and reason was not just a strategy, but a moral duty. This meant making decisions based on sound ethical principles, even when those decisions involved great personal sacrifices. In his speeches and writings, King often emphasized the importance of acting justly and treating all human beings with respect and compassion, regardless of circumstances. A clear example of the application of these principles was his leadership of the civil rights movement. Rather than responding to violence with violence, King encouraged his followers to practice nonviolence, an approach that requires enormous discipline and self-control, central features of Stoic philosophy. He believed that responding to hate with love and violence with peace was not only an effective tactic, but an expression of virtue and reason. When facing extreme adversity such as death threats, arrests, and personal attacks, King remained true to Stoic principles. He demonstrated that virtue and reason could be beacons of guidance in times of crisis, providing the moral strength necessary to face and overcome difficulties. His life and legacy are powerful testaments to how Stoic teachings about the importance of reason and virtue can be applied to promote social justice and human dignity. By embodying these Stoic principles, King not only shaped his own life, but also inspired generations to follow a path of justice, integrity, and reason. In the next section, we will explore further how King's view of justice aligned with the Stoic concept of dikaiosine, and how this influenced his fight for civil rights. The Stoic notion of dikaiosine, justice as a fundamental right and a moral duty, was at the heart of Martin Luther King Jr.'s beliefs and actions. For the Stoics, dikaiosine was not just an abstract concept, but a central principle that guided ethical life and interaction with others. King took this Stoic perspective and applied it practically in his fight for racial equality and social justice. King saw the fight for racial equality as a matter of universal justice, something that transcends cultural and political boundaries. This vision aligned perfectly with Stoic ideals, which defend justice as an intrinsic and universal value. For King, justice was not merely a political goal to be achieved, but a moral imperative that required constant and committed action. He believed that all people, regardless of their color or origin, had the right to dignity and respect. This belief in universal justice was reflected in every aspect of his leadership and activism. King often spoke about the interconnectedness of humanity, asserting that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. This Stoic principle of interdependence resonated deeply with his vision of a world where everyone is entitled to fair and equal treatment. He saw justice as a fundamental pillar for a healthy and prosperous society, where each individual could live with dignity. King also emphasized that justice required action and not just words. He believed that it was every individual's moral duty to fight injustice whenever they encountered it. This view is directly linked to the Stoic concept that virtue must be actively practiced in the real world. For King, this meant leading marches, organizing peaceful protests, and confronting oppression head-on, even when it meant risking his own life and freedom. Furthermore, King frequently used moral rhetoric to mobilize support and inspire collective action. In his speeches, he appealed to people's sense of justice, encouraging them to see beyond their own interests and consider the well-being of the community as a whole. He believed that true justice could only be achieved when everyone was committed to treating each other with fairness and respect. In short, the Stoic concept of dikaiosine was a driving force in the life and work of Martin Luther King Jr. His vision of justice as a fundamental right and moral duty guided his fight for racial equality and human dignity. King not only defended these principles, he lived by them, demonstrating that true justice requires courage, integrity, and an unwavering dedication to the highest ethical values. In the next section, we will analyze how King's admiration for Seneca, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, further shaped his thinking and actions in the pursuit of social justice. Martin Luther King Jr. deeply admired Seneca, one of the most prominent Roman Stoic philosophers. Seneca's writings on ethics, virtue, and social justice had a significant impact on King's thinking and actions. Seneca's philosophy, which emphasized the importance of living a virtuous and wise life, resonated strongly with King's own beliefs. Seneca defended the idea that true wealth resides in virtue and wisdom, not in material goods. For Seneca, a full and meaningful life was achieved through the cultivation of virtue and commitment to high ethical principles. King echoed these sentiments in his speeches and writings, highlighting the importance of a life based on strong moral values. He believed that the relentless search for justice and truth was essential for human fulfillment and the construction of a just society. King frequently quoted Seneca in his speeches, using his words to illustrate points about the importance of virtue and justice. He saw in Seneca an example of how Stoic philosophy could be applied to confront injustice and promote social equity. Seneca argued that justice should be sought by all, and that each individual had a responsibility to act fairly regardless of circumstances. King adopted this perspective, arguing that everyone had a moral duty to fight oppression and inequality. Seneca's influence was also manifest in the way King approached personal and social challenges. Seneca taught that adversity was an opportunity to practice virtue and demonstrate moral courage. King incorporated this lesson into his own life, facing violence, imprisonment, and discrimination with resolute calm and a firmness of purpose. He saw these difficulties not as insurmountable obstacles, but as tests of his moral integrity and his commitment to justice. Furthermore, King shared with Seneca a belief in the interconnectedness of humanity and the importance of service to others. Seneca wrote extensively about the need to help others and contribute to the common good. King embraced this vision, dedicating his life to public service and the fight for civil rights. He believed that the true measure of a person was not in their material possessions, but in their willingness to fight for justice and to serve others. Seneca's influence on King's life can also be seen in his focus on self-discipline and moderation. Seneca taught that personal discipline and moderation were essential to a virtuous life. King practiced these principles, maintaining strict discipline in his personal and professional life. He believed that effective leadership required self-control and a constant dedication to ethical principles. In short, Seneca's influence was profound and lasting on the life of Martin Luther King Jr. Seneca's teachings on ethics, virtue, and social justice shaped King's thinking and inspired his actions in pursuit of a more just and equitable world. King not only studied Seneca's writings, but lived by these principles, demonstrating that Stoic philosophy can be a powerful force for social change. In the next section, we will explore how the Stoic philosophy of amor fati, love of destiny, influenced King's attitude toward the adversities and challenges he faced in his fight for civil rights. The Stoic concept of amor fati, or love of destiny, also deeply influenced Martin Luther King Jr. This philosophy teaches serene acceptance and love of one's destiny, including its difficulties and challenges. King adopted this attitude as he faced enormous obstacles in his fight for civil rights. He saw adversity not as misfortunes to be lamented, but as opportunities to demonstrate courage, resilience, and commitment to his principles. For Stoics, amor fati means fully accepting all aspects of life, even those that are painful or difficult. King embodied this philosophy in dealing with the numerous difficulties he encountered on his journey. From constant death threats to physical violence and arrests, he maintained an attitude of acceptance and steadfastness. King did not see these challenges as mere obstacles, but as essential parts of his mission to promote justice and equality. King found in the philosophy of amor fati a source of unshakable strength. He believed that every adversity was a chance to show resilience and deepen his commitment to the fight for civil rights. When faced with brutality and injustice, he responded with resolute calm and renewed determination. This love of destiny allowed him to continue to fight for his ideals even in the most desperate circumstances. Through amor fati, King also found a way to transform personal pain into collective action. He used his experiences of suffering and injustice to inspire and mobilize others, creating a powerful movement based on nonviolence and social justice. By accepting his destiny and seeing every challenge as an opportunity for growth, King was able to galvanize a movement that changed American history. This powerful combination of reason, virtue, justice, and acceptance of destiny shaped Martin Luther King Jr.'s approach to seeking a more just and equitable world. He demonstrated that Stoic philosophy was not just an abstract theory, but a living practice that could guide effective action and inspire millions. In the next section, we will see how Martin Luther King Jr. applied these Stoic principles in practice, using nonviolence and other strategies to bring about significant social change. King managed to transform Stoic theory into concrete action, leading a movement that fought injustice with dignity and moral strength. Let's explore how he did this in detail. King advocated nonviolence as a powerful form of resistance, grounded in the Stoic principles of reason, discipline, and self-control. Inspired by Mahatma Gandhi and the Stoics, he believed that violence could not bring about true and lasting peace. Instead, King saw nonviolence as a means to achieve social justice without resorting to hatred. He taught that true strength lay in the ability to maintain serenity and composure, even in the face of provocation and violence. Peaceful marches, boycotts, and sit-ins were some of the tactics King used to challenge segregation and injustice, demonstrating that peaceful resistance could be a powerful force for change. The Stoic principles of courage and resilience were fundamental to King as he faced racial segregation, violence, and oppression. He believed that to achieve justice, it was necessary to face suffering and adversity with a clear mind and a firm heart. King remained true to his values and goals, even when facing death threats, arrests, and physical attacks. He taught his followers to see every challenge as an opportunity to demonstrate courage and to strengthen their determination to fight for equality. This resilience inspired many to persist in their fight, even when the chances of success seemed remote. King saw the fight for social justice as a fundamental moral duty, aligned with the Stoic concept of serenity, the whole and the parts. He believed that justice for all was essential to a just and prosperous society. For King, racial inequality was not just a civil rights issue, but a moral imperative that demanded immediate action. He argued that each person had a responsibility to contribute to building a society where everyone was treated with dignity and respect. His vision of social justice was deeply rooted in the belief that we are all interdependent and that injustice against one is a threat to justice for all. Martin Luther King Jr. demonstrated that the Stoic principles of reason, virtue, justice, and acceptance of fate can be applied practically and effectively in the fight for social justice. His Stoic leadership shaped not only his life, but also the course of American history. King showed us that it is possible to face injustice with dignity, moral strength, and determination in our ethical principles. King's teachings, based on Stoicism, continue to be relevant today. They remind us of the importance of acting with integrity, facing adversity with courage, and seeking justice as a moral duty. As we reflect on his life and legacy, we are inspired to apply these principles to our own lives, promoting social justice, equality, and peace in our communities. We encourage you to subscribe to our Academy for Modern Stoic channel and reflect on how the teachings of King and Stoicism can be applied to your life. Through the daily practice of reason, virtue, and acceptance of destiny, each of us can contribute to a more just and equitable world.